In 1983, Britt Allcroft began production on the first series of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. It's a story you've all heard before, and I'm sure many of you have watched the first series countless times. But have you ever wondered why it feels so different in comparison to the rest of the show? Well, let's dive into its production history. Series 1 began filming in late 1983. Britt Allcroft had hired a company called Clearwater Entertainment to create and film the model work, with David Mitten becoming director. Mitten was a visionary who loved creating work that popped off the screen. He had lots of experience working with miniatures and was the right man for the job. However, when you watch Series 1, you begin to notice it feels limited. I'm not talking about the set design or the model work, I'm referring to the camera work. You see, for Series 1, the camera almost always sat on the track. This was due to a lack of budget for a proper rig. An old tale that used to go around is that the grass seen in Series 1 is just flour with food colouring added, as this was a great cheap alternative. For a majority of the first series, a standard 35mm camera would be placed on a tripod at the edge of the set, or even sometimes just directly flat on the set, after moving track and set dressing aside. Then, a zoom lens was used to allow the camera to appear closer to the models where applicable. Often, to achieve shots looking up at the engines, as seen in Thomas and Gordon, the engine models would be propped above the tracks, with the tripod at its lowest height. Any other shots were always at a slightly higher vantage point than compared to the later series. This style of shot does not carry over into the later series. This is why Series 1 doesn't have many exciting moving shots, and the ones that you do see are simply a combination of the tripod and zoom lens being utilised creatively. Angles were much more difficult to achieve in this era of Thomas, and it's why Series 1 really stands out. Sure, the later seasons really did spice up the production, but Series 1 has this calm charm that we all can't help but love. Clearwater Features had begun heavy work on their rigging system during the latter half of the production on the first series. The final product was named the Clearwater Periscope Lens System. They were designed by David Mitten and Terence Perman. The specialist cameras were built in the United States, with the lenses being created in Japan. Only 2 of these systems were ever created. The interesting thing is that this system was used in Series 1, but from what I can tell through behind the scenes pictures, it was used scarcely. I think this is because they were still developing and getting used to the system, and with short production time, it was easier to lay the camera on the table. It was only when Series 2 started production that the Periscope system became a permanent setup for the show. Even in Series 2 you can see the team are slightly restricted with shots, and it's only once TUGS happened, David Mitten and his team realised its full potential.
Using this lens, which my cameraman and I designed up together, it can track with the engine, along the engine tracks as well, alongside it, with it, fly over bridges and track with it. It can do anything.
Now you may be asking what a periscope lens system is. Well, let me walk you through it. It's almost identical to the periscope lens found on a submarine, as it allows you to see from a vantage point that the human eye, or in this case a camera lens, cannot naturally reach. The camera is fastened to a series of tracks that are rigged just above the set. This allows it to move relatively freely and smoothly, like an upside down dolly. The camera and its accompanying lens are attached high above to the start of the periscope system, which uses layers of glass internally to reflect the imagery down on the set and send it to the 35mm camera. With the periscope curving out at the bottom, it allows the camera to be at a ground level with its subjects. Tailored with a wide angle lens that was looking up just inches from the ground. This vantage rig allows the engines to look bigger than they actually are. And there you have it. Now you can understand why Series 1 feels a little different to the rest of the show. It is the only series to feature in-camera zooms, used most notably in the opening shot of Trouble in the Shed, as opposed to the later usage of tracking shots with the periscope system. To this day, both systems still exist. One is currently based in Canada, as Robert D. Cardona took it to be modified for his Sony BVP7 for Theodore Tugboat, after TUGS had ended, and the other continued to work on the show up until it switched to CGI and remains in Mattel's property.
It's very special in as much as it gets down to what I call children's level. we're shooting everything down as though they're down there with little toys and they're down at that level. But it's also what I call proper camera level.
That's good there.
The custom-built lens has feather-sensitive controls, allowing focus from infinity down to 1 inch.
The system was completely unique and at the time was revolutionary for filming miniatures. It truly shows the experts behind Clearwater features and how they were always meant to be the team behind the job. Thank you very much for watching. A big thank you to Brandon Carty for helping out with this video. He added great detail to the script and this just couldn't be done without him. Please go check out his socials. He's also working on a documentary for the whole fandom which is due to come out later this year. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing or even leaving a like and a comment. It really does help the channel. Thank you all very much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.